At about 8 years old, I could tell you how to shoot up heroin from watching my mother. My grandparents that raised me on and off had 5 children. 3 of them they buried to the addiction of drugs, and also a grandchild, one being my mother. My mom started going to the methadone clinic. She would come home all the time, just out of it. I knew something was wrong, so I went home, and when I got home, I found out that my mother had passed away. She was found in my bedroom, in my bed, where my aunt was also found. My name is Candace Mckelroy. My life as a child growing up was a very dark place. My mother was a heroin and crack addict. My father was in and out of prison all throughout my life. My stepdad was mentally and physically abusive. At about 8 years old, I could tell you how to shoot up heroin from watching my mother being left outside of crack houses for hours at a time. Drug addiction has been a vicious cycle in my family for generations. My grandparents that raised me on and off had 5 children. 3 of them they buried to the addiction of drugs, and also a grandchild, one being my mother. We had moved back in with my grandparents, and my mom started going to the methadone clinic. She would come home all the time, just out of it. I remember arguing with my grandmother one night. She said that something was wrong with my mom, something different. And I said it wasn't anything different. She was just messed up like always. And I left with a boy, and I didn't come home. I woke up at 6 o'clock the next morning. I knew something was wrong, so I went home, and when I got home, I found out that my mother had passed away. She was found in my bedroom, in my bed, where my aunt was also found. I just wanted to run from all the problems that I had in my family life. I had a daughter, had her when I was 15, still on pills, and after I had her is when I tried methamphetamine for the first time. It had me from the very first time. It made me feel 10 foot tall and bulletproof. It blocked all of my emotions. By the age of 18, I had my second daughter. My grandparents had decided to move to a little town in Bruce. They wanted to raise my younger brother and sister out of the city. I left my oldest 2 kids' dad and went to Bruce to be with them. My cousin lived there with them, and she was also an addict. Through her, I met who would soon be my husband. He was 16 years older than me. He asked me to move to Missouri with him. I found out that I was pregnant by the guy that I had spent my teenage years with. I could not bring another child into this world. And my cousin Jennifer, who was my best friend, she had taken my mother's place. She was my everything. We were very close. She drove to Missouri to be with me during this time. And she was an addict and an alcoholic. And on her way home, she had a car wreck and died. For a long time, I thought that if I wouldn't have made the decision to have an abortion, would she still be here? When that happened, I just fell deeper into drugs. I couldn't get a break. People were always dying from addiction around me. It was all that I knew. My husband was very mentally abusive. We were strung out on drugs, and we moved back to Mississippi. His family called social services on us. My kids were taken. I went even more deeper into my addiction. It stops working after a while, so you have to go to the next level. I didn't care anymore. I really didn't care. I felt like I had no reason to live. I had been using IV drugs for about a year, in and out of jails. I didn't even care what was going on in my kid's life. I didn't care about anything but numbing the pain. This is when I hit my knees and truly for the first time in my life started calling on him. stand here alive today only because of the grace of God. So at this time in my life, I called on Him like never before. I knew that He was the only one that could save me. The life I was living was going to lead me somewhere that I didn't want to spend eternity. But that through Him, I could be changed and saved. I looked everywhere in 3 states for a faith-based rehab. I wanted somewhere that I could understand the things God had been telling me. I went to an old friend's house. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning. I had some heroin in my hand, and I hit my knees in his driveway, and I dumped all the dope that I had out in the wind. And once again, I prayed to God harder than I'd ever prayed. A complete stranger came up to me and he started praying with me. He ended up being a guy that had actually been to Warriors, and here we are at 2 o'clock in the morning praying and singing Amazing Grace to God. And he said, I know a place where you can go. The next morning, I was at Breakthrough Center. Today, I know that it was right where God intended me to be all along. I know now that He was just waiting for me to completely surrender. The 12 months that I have spent at Breakthrough Center, I have learned how to have a true relationship with Jesus Christ. Through Jesus, my chains of addiction, feeling unworthy, guilt, shame, regret have all been broken. Today I see myself as the beloved daughter of the Most High King. God has completely changed me from the inside out. Today I love. Today I feel. Today I have a future and a hope. But most importantly, I have a relationship with Jesus. And He is the way, the truth, and the life.